Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to AVX Live. I'm Joe Gilderson, President of Corporate Audiovisual Services. I know we took a few weeks off. I mean, we had to get this season started, and boy, have we started. We're right in it already, right off the bat. So we had needed a couple of weeks to get prepped. But I'm happy to say we're back, and I have a great guest today, so we're going to have fun. But before we meet our guests, let me just remind everybody how you can find us. Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube every Wednesday, 1 p.m. While you're there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And of course, look, if you're watching live, drop us a comment, be a part of the show. I mean, this is one big community, right? And look, if you don't get a chance to watch it live, you can go back and watch the other 116 episodes on our YouTube channel. And if you really want to see some fun stuff, go to Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn afterwards, and I'm sure Alexis is going to post some sort of fun little clips. Shark bites, as my friend Andrew would say. And Andrew owes me one now because I sunk that shot last night. And if he's watching, he knows what I'm talking about. But that's enough about me. Anyways, let me tell everybody about today's guest, Jessica Isenhour. Jessica is a freelance audiovisual technician, marketing specialist, singer-songwriter, and entrepreneur. Her passions are heavily rooted in leadership, mentorship, and seeing the next generation of technicians become self-starting entrepreneurs. Having grown up in production, performance, and entertainment, she originally anticipated a career in the music touring industry until discovering the corporate events industry in 2022. Since then, she's loved collaborating with a variety of clients and technicians and also helps other women develop their career in AV. When she's not working a show, you can find her in the studio, working on her own music, or enjoying a day in Disney World with her family. You can't get better than that now, can you? So listen, please welcome Jessica to our show.
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me here today. So happy to be here. Those are some excellent photos you found. Oh my goodness, I'm so touched. Thank you for the kind words.
I might still have another one in the bag just in case, but
yeah, I love it.
I mean, my favorite though, which I did have some video of, but it's not the complete video, was really this one.
Yep, of course. That's a good memory for sure.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Well, look, I know you've been bouncing around and you've done some traveling, you've been working, so I'm glad we got a chance to have you on the show, this week, and it's a busy time, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I know you guys have been cranking away at it. The AV season is in full swing, at least where I'm at, out of Florida. So which is really encouraging. It's kind of like a family reunion, getting back into some of these shows after a little bit of vacay time. But thank you so much for your time today and for inviting me on the show. Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it feels like you were just here too, but
yeah, just a few weeks ago, making some memories. Can't wait for next year. Oh my goodness. I had so much fun at Pirate University. It was like, it far exceeded my expectations for sure.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, you were here for Pirate University and you're traveling around doing different shows and different capacities and different work. Why don't you tell everybody how you first got involved in the AV community? What led you down this road, I guess?
Yeah, I kind of grew up in production. I'm a musician. My dad's a musician, singer-songwriter kind of deal, play a little bit of keys, a little bit of guitar as well. So I thought I was going to be doing this in the music industry. I thought I might be in music management, music tech, something or other. So I studied some music production in a studio setting in school. I got my degree in music business and then did some touring, had some experience out in the Nashville area, loved it, met so many great people. And then I was setting up for a concert one day and a friend of mine was like, hey, you can do this like freelance in the corporate world. I was like, what do you mean corporate world? Like I had never heard of it before. And she's like, yeah. And actually this whole like gaffing cables thing, starting pay is pretty good. And I was like, okay, you have my attention. And so not like a week later, I started like Googling it and looking into it. And I was like, oh, these conferences, this is really cool. And started cold calling just about any company I could find, sending emails, just Googling audio visual Orlando, Florida, whatever. and found some companies, and one of which took a chance on me and said, actually, we had a stagehand drop out tomorrow. Why don't you come on out for the load in? Day 2 was show. They said, if you want to shadow during the show, I mean, we can't pay you, but we'll pay you for the loadout. I said, absolutely. I want to be in the room where it happens. And ever since then, I have been hooked. I've met so many cool people. It's the same tech as the concert industry, audio, XLRs, you're seeing a lot of it. And I thought I'd be gearing myself to be an A1, but now I'm head first into video, and I love it. And I love working with the clients and leading crews and producing when I get the chance to as well. So it's a really cool community that I found in AV.
Well, I agree with you 100% on that. It's a great community, and a lot of people, especially these days, are really trying to help each other.
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons you actually came up to see us, and that's great. The idea of somebody took a chance on you and you started working in that, and you had a little sense of the sound part, and that is how most of our people have come to this, which I find it so interesting.
Yeah. What I thought was really interesting about my experience is I had experience assembling LED walls before I ever did my first stagehand gig in the corporate world, because I went on a short tour and really just kind of found myself drawn to it. And now I'm trying to learn as much Novastar as I can. Want to get my hands on some Brompton as well, to do some more LED programming. But I call them my big boy Legos, So I when I was telling these companies, I said, actually, I've assembled LED walls, put me on your roster, anything. I just want to be in it. And so was very fortunate to find the clients that I did that early on in my career.
Wow. Well, that's really cool. I mean, you've already had a number of different experiences. It's funny that you came LED wall first. That's like the last step for a lot of people. So
right.
I think that's pretty funny. You're seeing all these things. And of course you came to Pirate University. Why? Which is our internal training classes, but is something we open up to a lot of people by invitation mostly, but we open up to a lot of people. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experiences with that? What did you see? What was interesting? I don't know. It's nice to have an outsider's perspective, Oh,
of course. What I thought was so cool about Pirate University is the variety of perspectives you had at the table in terms of instructors, guest speakers. I mean, what I love most about the AV industry is you're going to run into people from all different walks of life, people who are from touring, from theater, people who have just been in corporate their entire lives, their entire career. And you had so many veterans in the industry that I thought was really cool to learn from. All of your guest speakers, the various sponsors that you had, like the gentleman from Blizzard. I thought that was really cool as they were talking more about the LED walls. That, like I said, that's kind of my hyperfixation right now.
So funny.
But the topics in which you discussed were also for a variety of different skill sets. We all come from different walks of life. Some of us got school in this, some of us are completely green. And you took it from the stagehand basics, which I think even to be reminded of those basics, even when you've been in your career for a little bit, is still very valuable, to be reminded of those roots and those fundamentals, because that is the foundation for everything else we do. And you took it to more of a GAV, breakout knowledge, and then just sent it from there into other operator level and then also leadership level discussions, which are only enhanced by those fundamentals. And so really, wherever you were in your career, I thought it was so cool to grow with everyone around you. Everyone could benefit from it in one way or another. I know that I certainly did.
Well, that's good. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? Is everybody's supposed to benefit from things. And I'm glad that you kind of got to see the whole process, because it was created so someone who did what you did to get started could actually be working next week. Like here's some basics. You don't just have to push a case and stand there. Let's do this, and then let's get you on something next week so you can see if this is your future world. And a lot of times, as my friend Jim would say, it's a tough business to get out of.
It really is enticing. It's an electric community, what I think is so cool is the fact that you guys really emphasize the importance of practicing what you have just learned, implementing those new skills right away. I think so much of AV, there can be a use it or lose it kind of,
Yeah.
feeling sometimes. If you're not looking at a software or a given product or a piece of gear every single day, it can be like, oh gosh, where's that button again? And especially when you're a stagehand, right? And if it's your first day on job site, I remember what that was like. It's a little nervous. You're like, I want to impress people. I want to make a good impression. So to say, okay, I learned this and now I'm going to implement it as soon as possible, and how you try to make those opportunities available for the students and people who grace your doors, I think that is so cool, because that is so needed within our industry for these new technicians coming in.
Well, and look, technology changes fast. So you're talking about the variety
Yeah.
of experiences. I mean, if I was really skilled in one area, but of course I'm maybe not as skilled in something else, where that's, hey, I've spent sound, working on sound my whole life, and I'd love to learn more about lighting. Or
Right.
like, you were talking about, you figured you would have started there just due to the touring part.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, that LED wall shiny,
Yes,
Boy, there's something
absolutely.
fun going on there.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
all start at different points, and I think it's great. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, you know a lot more than I know. So we should keep it like that. I think that's great.
Oh, I still have so much I could learn from you. I mean, what I think is so cool is I was not only learning from the people who have been in it for as long as I have been alive, but I was also learning from the new people in the industry. I think that makes me a more effective crew lead and a leader in the industry as well, to say, okay, what kind of obstacles do you find yourself facing? What makes you anxious when you work on the job site? That way I can try to alleviate those stresses. So as I'm leading you, reading people's body language and also just building relationships with new technicians, I think is just so interesting. And so, makes me a more effective technician as well, to say, okay, we're all in this together. Let's overcome those obstacles together and, knock this show out of the park.
Well, and there are usually some sort of obstacles, right?
Yeah,
And
of course.
I think in general that this business helps you problem solve and learn those skills, and those carry over to other aspects of your life.
100%. I think learning how to lead on job site makes me a more effective friend in the real world, and vice versa. It's a people industry, and these shows that we're doing every single day, these are people celebrating some of their biggest victories. It is their year-end reviews, it's their award ceremonies, it's their galas, it's their services to recognize people that also they might have lost over the course of their year. It's also, them trying to respect, okay, we maybe didn't perform as well, but how are we going to get better? People are doing life together in these shows. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that, being a fly on the wall in the room. And
Absolutely.
those dynamics carry into the crew as well. And so we're all just people trying to do life together, work well together. And I think when you can learn more about people and how they work, it makes the gear process 100 times easier.
Well, there's certainly multiple aspects to every event, right? You're talking about the gear, you're talking about the people, but I think the fact that you've recognized that when all of us are there, it's to support some group or some person or some, charity, or we're there to support them.
Yeah.
And it is their biggest moment. It doesn't matter what, the purpose is. It's their biggest moment, and we're there to help them. I think that guides the perspective a lot. I find it very calming to know that that's the path. It's easier that way.
Yeah, 100%. And for a lot of us, we might do 3-4 shows, big shows a month, and it's just one right after the other, right after the other. I think there's something to be said about being sensitive to what the room has to hold. Those event planners working with a given company, they've been working all year for that. You might have only been on it, a few months, a few weeks, or shoot,
Right.
you might have just walked in same day and you're like, well, I'm just going to plug in everything like I typically do. And it's just like any old show. But I think to take those clients' needs into account is so important. And it really can set you aside as a technician as well to care just as much as they do. I think that's what gets you
Absolutely.
the call back. I think showing that type of passion, people want that in their crews. I'm a very firm believer in rejoicing with those who rejoice. Just like, hey, if you have a win, I want to celebrate with you. And I think that really, that type of positivity and that mindset is infectious across the entire crew. I think you load in faster, you load out faster. The show goes smoother that way when those types of positive mindsets are continuing to thrive.
Yes, because the opposite happens too, and we don't want the opposite. We want
Yeah.
we want to keep everybody as upbeat as possible. And I think if you know the crew, and the team that you're working with, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But there's many times where you don't know everyone.
Hmm.
You may know some key people that are in certain roles, but you may not know others. You're going to interact with everyone. So, so I think having the right perspective is a really big deal.
100%. I think you can really learn a lot about your crew in the first few moments when you are unloading that truck. I think the pecking order kind of establishes itself right off the bat. I think you're going to see among your stagehands who are the maybe more naturally inclined leaders and who are the people who are just trying to figure things out. And so I think starting off on a positive note, if you have any aspect of influence on your crew, and if you have a voice, that means you have influence. I think to start off very positively and observe, people watch a little bit. You always have to stay
Mhm.
very conscientious and aware of your surroundings for the sake of safety as well. But paying attention to people and how they work together, I think even if you've never worked with a crew before, you'll find that the rest of your day goes a little bit smoother because you took some
Right.
time to take in your surroundings.
It also makes your day better, right? It really does. You have a little fun, you smile, you make a little joke, you help someone when they need help. I mean, it's not that complicated, really. But I think we
Right.
sometimes get lost in our own heads or really focused on one thing. But you talked about how some people, like when you're unloading the truck, that some of those people kind of stand up right then and they're able to take the lead, maybe due to experience, maybe the particular venue, like who knows.
Mhm.
But when I usually see, in most of the crews I see a very much a male dominated field. And I think you stand out a lot because you have this great attitude. You're learning different skills. How is it being a woman in the AV and the technical side specifically?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I say that a little sarcastically, but also with a genuine heart. It's not without its complications or whatever, but I think anyone in the industry can say that. Any stagehand, any guy, any girl can say that. Hey, it's got its pros and cons. I do think that there's a certain benefit to say that I'm going to stick out and to that degree, it's up to me to say, how do I want to stick out? How do I want to leave an impression? Am I just going to stand to the side and be like, oh, I don't want to get my hands dirty because I got my nails done? Like, no, I want to be able to say that I gave my all and that I contributed to the show as a whole as well. And for newer girls getting into the industry, I'll tell you, like, mansplaining happens. There are guys that
The infamous
sometimes want to.
mansplaining. Yes.
Right. But I also have to take into consideration, I think many of them, more often than not, it actually does come from a heartfelt place. I think there are a lot of guys in the industry that see girls and want to actually help them. To any guys who are in the industry, who are like, Jess, how do I talk to a girl when they're on job site without like stepping on anyone's toes? I tell them there's a difference between saying with any tone of voice, like, let me help you with that, and saying, hey, do you need any help? giving a girl a place to say, hey, actually, yeah, you know what, I could probably use a strong arm picking up this case, or whatever the case is. And but as for my experience, it's really been encouraging. I've found a family on a lot of these job sites, people who see me as a girl, not necessarily as a weakness, but as a diverse addition to the team. And it's also, I think, created some unique opportunities for me. And I would encourage any girl to keep an eye out for what those opportunities look like. A lot of these clients are girls. A lot of these speakers are girls, event planners as well. And I think that gives us a unique opportunity to talk to those people and relate to those people, instead of just being the guy who's been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years. And I think there's a feminine touch that any crew could benefit from.
I would agree. I would agree 100% on that. The more balance, I think, the better in our crews, just in general, because that's what our population, that's what our clients, that's what our events look like, right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
people, that's what people want to see. They want to work with others who are similar to them in some capacity. And so how do we get more women involved in AV?
Yeah, one of my mentors puts it this way. It said, no one gets into AV on purpose. We all kind of end up like stumbling into it somehow, like by accident. But I think there's some divine intervention or something to be said there. I think we all actually find our purpose. And later on, even if we don't know why we ended up there, I think we end up being like, oh, this is why I'm here. We all have to find our own place. I think as for getting new girls in the industry, it starts by word of mouth. Right. I think things as simple as a social media post and saying, hey, we're looking for new stagehands, or things like that. I'm a big social media marketing kind of person. So I think a social media post can actually go a long way. It all comes down to, I think, that type of exposure, showing people, hey, this is what we have to offer, because it's a niche industry as it is, let alone girls getting into the industry being niche. So I think any crew would benefit from, a girl or two being on job site. If for the leaders out there who are looking at these resumes come in, hey, if you see a girl on your roster, like, give them a call and see where they want to grow, where they want to learn. I think you just might be surprised with what they can contribute.
This is a great perspective. And I think that is something that has to be actively pursued, how to attract more women to the business. I don't think there's a lot of people that know what we do. We joke about that all the time. Like, they just see us pushing these mysterious black cases around, and we're hiding behind curtains in some capacity. Nobody has any idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, it's a little bit of magic. It's a little Wizard of Oz, but the perspective still drives everything, and that we're here to help people execute and deliver a result. And that involves everybody. And so yeah. I think you're on the right track here, Yeah. And I've already seen you trying to lead others and mentor others. Why is that?
Gosh, I consider myself so fortunate to have found such excellent mentors so early on in my career. And I definitely think that has helped fast track my career to a certain degree. If I cannot say that what I've done is all me. That would be very foolish and selfish for me to say. I'm so thankful for the community that I found that has helped support me. And it has only encouraged my passion so much more to want to mentor others. So whenever I see a girl that's looking to get into the industry, I've had people say, oh yeah, my daughter's your age and she wants to get into the industry. I say, hey, send her my cell phone number. Like, let's get on a FaceTime call. Let's meet for coffee. Let's go over your resume and talk about all the things you need to know that I didn't fully know getting into the industry. Even though I had assembled LED walls, I'm talking about the social intricacies and some of the lingo and the verbiage and the things that people wouldn't necessarily think to prepare a new stagehand, let alone a girl going into the industry. Even down to dress code. I tell a lot of girls, like, we're always thinking about, oh my gosh, what do we wear? I know that sounds really silly, but we're always thinking about that to a certain degree. And for a lot of these job sites, if they even do specify dress code, I've seen plenty of calls that don't necessarily state a dress code. And so then you're like, what do I do? For some people, it's understood. For people newer to the industry, they don't always know. And you say, okay, we're all black. What does that mean? What does
Right.
show blacks mean as opposed to stage blacks? And, typically it's like a collared shirt. And that's very simple for guys. Girls, a lot of our wardrobe we don't have too many colored shirts. So what does that kind of look like? And I can only speak from my own experience, but I share with girls all the time, hey, this is some of what I wear. This is some of what works for me. Bring some tools with you. That's going to set you apart from the vast majority already. And you'll already be off to a great start. So I just try to be that voice wherever possible. Because some of those things I had to learn the hard way. But I think anyone in this industry can say that they encountered things that they had to learn the hard way or just from experience being thrown into the fire. So just trying to mitigate that and reduce as many barriers to entry as possible.
No, I mean, dress code is a big part. Honestly, I wish more of the male technicians thought about what they were wearing, to be quite honest, but that's a different problem. But
Yeah.
but no, you're right. Look, the typical shirts that most organizations have, like, they don't look very good on
Yeah.
other, But the good news is, Glenn Doherty says Seattle has many women in the AV industry.
Woohoo! Love to
That's
see
great
it.
news, man.
I've had the chance to work with so many wonderful girls also in the Orlando area. To a certain degree, I'm often the only girl on a lot of these job sites. So when I see like 2 other girls, I think recently I was like, oh my gosh, there are 5 other girls out of like 50, but 5 other girls in this, I want to make sure that I shake their hand, that I get to know them. And if they, might be intimidated to ask a question, I'm full force head into anything I do. And so I'll be like, hey, let's figure this out together. And that way you have the confidence to do everything that you want to set yourself out to do. Always happy to hear about more girls getting into the industry. And the more stagehands that I have the chance to work with, I'm seeing higher ratios of girls, slowly but surely, which is really encouraging. It's just a matter of getting them into some of those operator positions, because a lot of them
Absolutely.
they have excellent attitudes, excellent work ethics. And same for guys. I think there's something to be said about bridging just the gap in general from stagehands to those operator positions, because it's only a matter of time before some of these guys retire, and we need to make sure these clients' shows are still executed with excellence.
Absolutely. Well, and that's a better paying role.
100%.
To be honest, the idea is that the industry has a progression of skills that leads to a certain place. Now, once someone finds where they're more comfortable or where they really enjoy, they love it, that's great. That's exactly why you want to do it. I was talking to a neighbor of mine recently, and we're discussing how a family member of theirs hated their job. And I'm like, I could not imagine going to work every day hating what I do. Like, what we do, I love what we do.
Yes.
I mean, and there are parts I don't like, let's be clear, but most of it, I love taking something from nothing to a finished product that you had talked about and you saw in your head, and then all of a sudden now you've created it, and the client goes, this is exactly what I thought. And like, to me, that's like what it's all about.
Oh, it's magic. No industry is perfect, because all industries are comprised of people, and people are imperfect. But that doesn't mean we can't have fun and try to do our best to put our best foot forward in anything that we do. There are some shows that are better than others, and at least in those moments where it's a little bit less than ideal, it's typically over in a week, from the time that you get on job site. But it always encourages me, all of these little wins that we get to celebrate as we go through our careers in AV, I think there are so many companies, they have maybe one or two big wins because a lot of their projects, take months and months and months to accomplish. And a lot of these shows, yes, on the pre-pro side, they do take months to accomplish. But as a freelancer, going from show to show, I get to experience all of these little wins. Every load in and every accomplished show is a little W that just keeps me going. And that's what I tell any stagehand also that's going into the industry. It's holding on to those W's, those wins, because you got to take them in stride. Some days are going to be longer than others, and some days, you're going to be on the 16th, 18th hour, and you're like, okay, when is this going to be over? But then you got to remember, oh, there's this like 1 5-hour long day and then I get to have coffee afterwards, and it's a grand old time. So I think that's so important, and to not let yourself be discouraged, especially when there really is so much room for promotion. There are so many different paths you can take in this industry. It's more than just audio, video, lighting. It's all of the subcategories and the
100%.
subsets, and so many aspects of leadership and administration that you can also be involved in, whether you're doing pre-pro or you're editing video on the other side. I think there are so many different areas, but it's getting that seat time. It's seeing those shows in context, and you only get there from taking on those stagehand gigs. If I'm not doing something on a given weekend, you're going to see me loading in for some random show, shaking new hands, meeting new people. I am obsessed with the thrill of it all. So hopefully that encourages some stagehands that are out there and other people. I'm sure many other technicians, operators in this industry can hopefully resonate with how exhilarating it is when you finish that show.
Yeah, it's always a great feeling when everything goes to plan,
Mm-hmm.
and it being that I just came off a show last night, everything went to plan. We had a few obstacles along the way in getting everything set up because of tight timelines, but end product is very good, and
Yeah,
that's hard to beat that feeling.
100%.
Really
I
is.
mean, I kind of enjoy the troubleshooting nature of it all, the little puzzles. I think they keep me fresh, so I kind of wouldn't have it any other way. Obviously, we want it to be as flawless as possible. But there's also a certain amount of pride, I think, that just overwhelms me when I get to work along with a team and we get to say, hey, we did this together despite the issues. It feels a little bit more rewarding that way. Maybe you feel the same way. I don't know.
In general, I like things to go smoothly. So
yeah. Oh, of course. 100%.
when that clock is ticking, it's ticking. But
oh, right.
But you certainly have an energy about you, and to me, you seem very much like a natural type of leader. Tell me about your thoughts on leadership. I know you sat with us in a class that we were doing for some of our project managers and technical leads, and I really thought you had a good perspective. But tell me about some of your thoughts on leadership.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I was doing a V1 switching gig this past week in Chicago, and there was a quote on leadership that just resonated with me so strongly. It said, a good leader sustains momentum, right? But a great leader increases it. There's a difference. Obviously, you want momentum to be gained, right? The minute you start loading into that facility, you're unloading the truck, you only want things to move faster, from the moment you plug in those cables to the moment that you're line checking and actually rehearsing. Like, once you get started, you want the ball to keep rolling. But increasing that momentum, I think it takes a great leader to increase it. So I think that's so important. I think that trickles down into your teams, and something I try to encourage any new stagehand into the industry. And I said this a little bit earlier. If you have a voice, you have an impact. If you're living and breathing, you can be a leader. Just because you're not assigned to be technical director, PM, a producer, whatever the case is, doesn't mean you can't lead within your circles. And that starts with, I think, a great attitude. And that already can set you apart. And you're indirectly leading. You're leading people's emotions. You're leading people's mindset. And I think that's really important and has really helped me move further in my career. It starts with your immediate circle and those around you. How are you impacting them? And then you add the technical knowledge on top of that. you're a force to be reckoned with. You're going to get stuff
Hmm.
done. Oh, you know where the cases go and how to plug things in and how to help others advance in this industry. Okay, now I think that's just a golden mixture. That's how you increase momentum. It's both a soft skills and hard skills kind of blend that you have to have, that yin and yang kind of vibe. I think that's super important. Leadership, you don't have to be an assigned leader to be a leader. And I
Correct.
think that's one of the biggest things I've learned in being a part of this industry.
Yeah, this industry is very unique in a lot of ways. You know, we talk about sometimes, usually in the training, this comes up. This is probably one of the only industries where one day you're in a certain capacity. Inside the office, my role is X, and I'm
Yeah.
in charge of that. If I go in the field, my role can be totally different. I may say, Jessica, what do you need? You tell me what you need.
Yep.
The running joke is I'm house lights guy. I'm, I'm go fetch us water guy. Because that's just the reality, right? Because somebody
Yeah.
else is really in charge at that point. So
Hmm.
your role changes from maybe today's your day and you're leading a team. Maybe tomorrow you need to follow. And maybe the day after that, you're trying to guide someone and mentor someone.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of industries like that. If I'm an
Right.
accountant, I'm an accountant every day. Like in our world, it's totally different. And
Yeah.
I think that's exciting.
My mother would put it this way, and she would express the importance of being instant in season and out of season. The concept being whether you anticipated that exact scenario, that box, that role, right? Are you ready for it whether or not you were assigned it? Do you stay consistent?
Mhm.
Are you a leader in a leadership role and in a followership role? Like that kind of concept. Um, One of the best examples that I share with new technicians, just a personal story of mine, was how I kind of got my first ever operator role. And I was hired as a GAV. I loaded in, I loaded out. But during the show, I was just a GAV extra hand to help turn the room, do transitions, which I think are some of the coolest opportunities where stagehands, if they can get in those unassuming roles, you think, oh, it sounds lame, but actually it can be really exciting because you get to see the context of the show. And towards the end of our day loading in, the TD, he comes up to me, and I had worked with him for a number of months freelancing. And he's like, Jess, I've noticed you have a pretty good attention to detail. We're going to need some of that. And I'm like, okay, what are you talking about? Our graphics op here, he's here for day 1 and 2 of show, but he has to leave for day 3. I still to this day don't fully know what happened, but something came up. He was not going to be there for 3rd day of show as originally intended. He said, so Jess, you're going to step into the graphics op role. You have 2 days to shadow him, and then day 3, you're on your own. And I kind of like sat there for a second. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, if he thinks that I'm capable, then I should think that I'm capable as well. Right.
Mhm.
So I had the chance to shadow, which was unbelievably just an incredible experience. Looking back at it, it was kind of a psychotic experience. I think to myself, what was I doing? I had a Zoom computer. I had like 6 laptops in front of me, right? The DSMs, I had to scroll through Word documents for their notes. So I was almost telepromptering. I was pinning different presenters on Zoom. And so I wasn't switching, but I was managing all of these different inputs for the switcher. But I got to listen in on the comms, get an understanding of the lingo. And then I got to where I was kind of calling different things on comms. And it was like, okay, cool. I really just took ownership of the responsibility that I was given. And it was that time in the hot seat, I'm so thankful for to this day. But it wouldn't have come if I hadn't accepted the humble little GAV,
Mhm.
help is needed, unassuming role, and staying consistent with that, being instant in season and out of season. I didn't know I was going to be an operator on that show until I got on that show. And I think that
Yeah.
consistency, if you maintain that mentality, it's only a matter of time before somebody's going to notice you and give you an opportunity that you wouldn't have otherwise thought was possible.
I think that's really well said. Obviously, your mother knows a lot about this industry. She has defined us in one sentence. No,
Yeah.
but attitude, everybody notices attitude. And it's the
Hmm.
one thing you have 100% control over.
Yeah.
Everybody notices. And, if you're doing, you just have to do the best job you can in whatever the role is. I
Hmm.
don't think, I mean, if you have to sweep the floor, you have to sweep the floor, right? If
Hmm.
you have to vacuum the red carpet, you have to vacuum it. Just do it well. That's all. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you. If you do those other things, and someone's going to be willing to trust you with a
Hmm.
role that has more, we'll call it significance. But fortunately, again, everybody's important in our community, and I think that's
Yeah.
also an unusual thing. If the
Yeah.
truck doesn't get unloaded, and if the cables don't get run,
You don't have
the
a show.
operator's not going to matter.
Yeah. Right.
Everyone is important. I think your perspective is really on point, and that's why you're succeeding and doing a great job, and that people are flying you around the country to come work with them.
Oh yeah, and it's so fun, and I'm just trying to take as many people with me as I possibly can. I've been able to mentor a number of my friends getting into the industry. My husband's gotten into the industry. My brother's gotten into the industry, and so now it's
Right.
like this family business. Not only just bringing in my family, but also all of the friends that I've made in this industry that are like family. I've in traveling, I've realized just how small the industry is.
It's very small.
I'll there was one time I went to Dallas, and then like a month later I was in Dallas again, and I was working with some of the same folks, and just on a stagehand level, more locals. And then even just in traveling, I've seen people in a variety of different states. Hey, I worked with you a few months ago. I love this community for that reason. It's like a family reunion. Some of these
Yeah,
annual events, especially, it's always cool to see people again.
it's true. Yeah. Hey, Glenn's telling us how we get started in the photo and sound company shop 40 years ago. There you go.
Wow, we all
Yeah.
start in different ways, and those are the stories I love hearing about. You'll be surprised. People start off in wedding photography and
Hmm.
video, and like I said, touring and theater. It's so cool to hear how different people find this industry.
Absolutely. Most of our people come from music or theater or
Yeah.
photography or arts, a wide variety, really, of capacities, but all from some sort of creative background.
Hmm.
And so we've always found that to be kind of an important thing because
Yeah.
if there's not that passion and that interest, odds are they're probably not going to stick with this. So
Yeah.
it's really it's a unique path. I mean, that's why we have our own house band here, because everybody's a musician
Yeah. No, I think that's so cool.
and
I
so
think
talented.
it's how you have to be multifaceted in this industry. Again, it's not for everyone. It's not for the faint of heart. I'm not going to say that AV is for everyone, but I think it's so cool. I was the weird person in school that I liked math and English. They're like, "Are you left brain or right brain?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just have a brain." I'm a creative. I like music, but also I like business. Like accounting was one of my favorite classes. And you want to say, Jessica, what? You're psychotic for that. But I loved it all. And it wasn't until I got into this industry that I was like, wow, there are so many other individuals like me that are so multi-talented and multifaceted. I think you have to be creative, but there's also a technical aspect, right? You have to think on your toes. You need to make sure that the show looks pretty and the colors are coordinated. You're almost doing interior design on some days, and then you're having to do all of your signal routing another day. And there are various ways to skin a cat there in terms of how you're going to route your signal. There are a million ways in which your ins and outs can work. And then you're working with people. And then you go home at the end of your show day, and you might be doing your own bookkeeping, and you're promoting yourself, and you're reaching out to new clients, and you're communicating via email. I tell any audio visual technician, don't sell yourself short. You are an entrepreneur. You are a business owner. If you are freelance and you're contracted out, your brand is you. Your business is you. don't sell yourself short. You'd be like, oh, I'm just a technician. No, you're so much more than that. And I think it's so cool how I've been able to find an industry that works for me, and a community of like-minded individuals as well.
Well, that is why you're here. And I got to tell you, you're amazing. We're lucky that we got you to join us today. And I really wish you the best in all of your career and all of your life as well.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's been a pleasure talking to you all today and meeting you just a few weeks ago in person. Finally, I've been following you for a long time. So it was a pleasure meeting you in person at Pirate University. Super excited for next year. If I can make it, you can sure as heck bet that I'm going to be there in the room where it happens. And looking forward to seeing all of the great things you guys do in this busy show season as well. Thank you.
I love it. Well, I know we're going to be seeing you around, and we'll be seeing you online as well. Please pass on a hello to Caleb and Anthony from all of us at Corporate AV and Pirate University.
Yes, will do. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate you.
Well, there you go. That's the kind of attitude everybody needs on site, and type of person that you want to work with. And Jessica's really, she's knocking it out of the park. I mean, she's everywhere right now. And it's because she just keeps working hard, and she's got a great attitude. And now she's leading others and mentoring others. And it's really important. That's what our industry needs. We're all part of one community. But listen, thank you, everyone. We're just going to wrap up today. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube every Wednesday at 1 p.m. While you're there, hit the like and subscribe button. And of course, if you get a chance, go back, check out any of the other episodes on our YouTube channel. Otherwise, we'll post some short clips on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So listen, everybody, thank you very much. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.